everyone, it's Denise from Something Beautiful Handcrafts, and as you can see, I finally got around to making something for Marie Grace. If you're not familiar with her, she is the AG historical from 1853, and she was released with Cecile Ray. Now, we know that Kirsten is 1854, and so you're thinking, well, why was Marie Grace released so closely? And things that make Marie Grace and Kirsten very different are, first of all, the culture they were raised in and the affluence that Marie Grace is raised in. So although they are both in the same historical context, historical time frame, their clothing and collections are going to be vastly different. Now, when I got Marie Grace, I did get her meat dress and her meat shoes, but not much else in her collection. And I'm actually not really a big fan of the items in her collection. Her meat dress is okay. It's very pink, and it's not terrible. And I do like one of her dresses. I can't remember if it's the summer dress or the fancy dress, but it is the three-tiered skirt dress, and honestly, I don't know if those are two pieces or one piece as far as how AG made them, but I do like that one, which is also pink, and those little pink boots. So at some point I may get that particular outfit, but the rest of them, they're not really to my taste as far as style, as far as color, or just pretty much I don't like them, which wouldn't matter anyway, because guess what? I'd still be making clothes for these dolls, which is the reason why I got them. So we're in the 1850s, and I looked at quite a few different patterns on Etsy. They're really cute, and I have a list of them I'm going to get around to making. So there'll be plenty of videos on those. But I settled first for just modifying some of the patterns I already have. So the first pattern you are seeing is Mary Grace in Kirsten's school outfit. Might not look like that to you, but that's exactly what this dress is. In order to make it more 1850-ish for the place that Mary Grace would be wearing it, first of all, I whitened the neckline. And sadly, I didn't seem to take a picture that really showed you how far I whitened the neckline. And that was actually a fairly easy thing to do. I just took the pattern for the front of the bodice and the back of the bodice and cut further into the shoulder and further down on the neckline. So that widened it. And also, I left the sleeves open. There are several, well, if you're into historical items and you're making this for these dolls, a good thing to do would be to search Pinterest for extant garments, just in case I had mentioned that before. And you'll find lots of pictures where you can base your creation or modification of patterns to look more historical. So right here, Mary Grace is in that look where she's got the collar and she has the sleeves that are matching, and then the overdress. Normally, though, the sleeves and the collar that you would see under these dresses would be a false collar, or what we would call a dickie now, but that would be a chemisette. And also those would be false sleeves. So it kind of depends. Sometimes they're attached to the dress, sometimes they were false sleeves. But that's the look she has here now. Next, I decided she needed something really fancy. And I taking the cue from this three-tiered skirt, I wanted to make her something with a lot of flounces. And so I also used Kirsten's school dress for that particular outfit, and I cut the neckline even deeper, which you'll be able to see. So first, let's talk about her hair. Her meat hairstyle is pretty much on point for what young girls would look like back then. So I put the 2 braids back in for the meat hairstyle. But also because of all the dressing I was doing with her, I tucked up her hair into a roll and tied it back. That would keep it out of the way for me, and it would be certainly easier to put it under a bonnet. And if she were an adult, having it back in that bun at the back with the braids around it would be period appropriate, because her dress is more adult-like than it is childlike. So first we're going to see her hair in her chemise. And this particular chemise and all of the undergarments you're going to see from now on all came from the Thistles and Acorns Victorian Unmentionable pattern. I love that pattern. It's for the Civil War era, and this is a little pre-Civil War era. Well, you know what? I think it actually covers probably about 1840 to maybe 1870, roughly. Yeah, I would say that would be about accurate for the Victorian Unmentionables. And before then, there would have been a different type of corset or stays. And after then, the shape changes for the corset. So this is a pretty good cover right here. So this is the chemise. And it opens, it's actually a really nice low neck. And it opens from the front, closes with a snap. Underneath her chemise, she has on drawers or pantalettes, depending on what time period you're looking up the name and what you want to call them. In this particular case, these particular ones she's wearing are not the split drawers, but the ones that come with that pattern are. Over top of her chemise, she has her corset. And I have made quite a few of these corsets. I think maybe this one might be the 10th one that I've made. And I love the process of making these corsets. And I'm hoping that as I'm making so many of these, I'm learning something. And when I eventually make my own corset, that it won't be quite the mystery to me, because I've done these several times now. And then I have a picture of the back of the corset. You're just going to have to excuse the lacing in the back, because first of all, I could not find what I did with my stash of lacing string. So I just had to use some thin weaving string, which really doesn't hold up all that well to lacing the corset, but it will do for the picture. Secondly, I believe in this time period, now don't quote me on this because I really have to look this up, I cannot remember, she might have needed to be spiral laced. And I had meant to look it up and see before I finished lacing her, but I kind of forgot. So if she's supposed to be spiral laced or straight laced, just kind of excuse that. I do know the differences. I just couldn't remember at the time I laced, and I forgot to go back and lace it properly. If you haven't seen my Instagram post, yes, these are hand sewn eyelets. I had started to use the rivets and I just didn't like the way they looked. And so I said, well, I'll just go ahead and hand sew the eyelets. And I've been hand sewing eyelets for all the 10 corsets plus Felicity School jackets since. I like hand sewing eyelets. I just put a tiny bit of delicate lace at the top and not much more. But there are fancier corsets that I've made. If you want to see a fancier corset I've made, you need to see Felicity's clothes video. See the one I made for her school outfit. Okay, we've got that on. And now I'm putting on her petticoat. And actually, there are 2 of these. One is a corded petticoat. One is a crinoline. This one right here is the petticoat. It's not the corded crinoline petticoat. That one is currently on Eddie. And I didn't think I could fit more on this particular doll because I didn't widen the pattern to adjust for the amount of layers that she would be wearing. I've done it for Eddie's stuff. And I've done it for Samantha's stuff, but I forgot to do it for this one. So she couldn't put on as many layers as both Samantha and Eddie have on. Now, in her collection, I think it's hers and not Cecile's. I don't know, they kind of share things. One of them has a cage crinoline. Here's the deal about cage crinolines. At the time that Mary Grace would have been alive in this book at 1853, cage crinolines weren't really a thing yet. They didn't come till like 1854 and later. It might have been 1854 to 1855. So she would not have had a cage crinoline at that time of that story. She would have still been wearing multiple petticoats, starched petticoats, corded petticoats, or such. So I totally understand why AG made her a cage crinoline, because sometimes what they try to do is smush in these various things into that particular date they put on there, even though some of these things may have been after or before that time frame, because they're just trying to cover some history, and some of that stuff is just so cool. So it just kind of pushed in there. But if I was being really accurate, at 1853 she would not be wearing a cage crinoline. This is the final result. Of course, now that I'm looking at it, I see slightly off center. So I'm gonna have to take it apart to fix that, but let's pretend it's not, and I'm gonna fix it. So we're good to go. At any rate, I'm out here and hoping that Marie Grace does not tip over. Now that my neighbors aren't trying to turn a neighborhood into a Beastie Boys concert, I can actually get good lighting outside, but I'm still subject to the elements and all of the background noise, because I do live in the city after all. So here we go. I think it turned out rather well. I did, like I said, I had a little problem with this. Is slightly off center. That's what happens when you sew late at night, so I'll fix that. But all in all, it's just the bonnet that gave me a little bit of trouble. Let me spin this so that you can get the final view of the bonnet. And mostly it's because once I put a layer onto the linen and heavy cotton, it made it really hard to sew through. But still, it worked out pretty well. I really like the ribbon on the top. Let's get her spun around. Little lace across the top. This is different from the other bonnet I did the other day, where the lace was on the outside, and this one is the lace on the top. I've only seen one illustration, and I want to say it was Peterson's, where the lace was on the outside. Most of them, the lace is on the inside, and she is wearing her day cap underneath. The green ribbon is actually from my Stampin' Up card supplies. I couldn't figure out anything to do with it. I've had it for quite some years now, and against this white, it just seems really pretty, and I'm not really a fan of green, so I like it over here. I folded it and then first put it on with some Aleene's, tack it over and over, and then just kind of tacked it down individually across the middle of the cap. That seemed about where I saw a lot of the decorations for the bonnets, and I haven't really decided yet if I'm going to run something across the brim. I've seen several versions. I guess it depends on who the bonnet was made for, but I'm not really big on a whole lot of decorations, even though the Victorians most certainly were. So I kind of have to balance it out between what is historically accurate and what I actually like, and sometimes it gets just a little difficult. But all in all, I'm enjoying this ensemble, and I think it turned out well. I didn't go step by step for this one, and If I had, the video would have turned out massively long. I try to keep my videos like 20 to 25 minutes or less when possible, but I do notice that a lot of the historical costumers do have videos that run like 45 minutes, almost to an hour, and I have no problem watching it. So if for some reason you would like to see me make something and you really want to see the entire process, let me know and I'll make a couple full-length videos. That way you can get a really good idea of what it actually takes to sew some of these items, especially if you are beginning seamstress and you just kind of want to get a feel for what you're getting yourself into. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.